Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us for the Temasek Polytechnic Design Show 2021. I'm Jeremy, a lecturer at the School of Design, and I'm delighted to be your host this evening. This is a very special event, one that culminates years of our students' hard work, and yet marks the beginning of another exciting journey. This is also our very first live stream, direct from our own TV studio. So we're excited to have you, our live studio audience, as well as our online viewers, join us tonight. Before we begin, I would also like to extend a warm welcome to our guest of honor, Mr. Adrian Tan, CEO of AdPlanet, member of Temasek Polytechnic's Board of Governors, and chairman of the School of Design Advisory Committee. We would also like to welcome members of the School of Design Advisory Committee and Mr. Lim Chong Jin, Director of the School of Design. To kick off this evening, I would now like to invite Mr. Lim to give the opening address. Mr. Lim helms the Design School and the Beyond Design Center at TP. An advocate of diversity and collaboration in design, Mr. Lim is also a strong believer that education doesn't end, but it's a lifelong process of realizing one's possibilities. Mr. Lim, please.
If anything happens, burn my mood boards. Wait, listen to this one. Typography got leading, but where is my life leading? Some wacky, witty lines that were written by our slightly high-strung, but exceptionally resilient and remarkably talented graduates. A very good evening, guests of honor, Mr. Adrian Tan, CEO at AdPlanet, BOG member, Temasek Polytechnic, Chairman, School of Design Advisory Committee. SAC members, Mr. Sebastian Tan, Group Managing Director, Shooting Gallery, Ms. Mei Xiao, Creative Strategy Lead, Facebook. Our alumnus, Design Maestro, Mr. David Tam, Creative Director, Founder, Studio Nom. Principal, Temasek Polytechnic, Peter Lam, but unfortunately, Peter can't be with us this evening. Senior management of TP, industry partners, distinguished guests, parents, alumni, students, friends, and colleagues who are both on-site and online. Welcome to the In Real Life, the Design Show 2021, I beg your pardon. Thank you for your presence and for our studio guests, especially for adhering to the safe management protocol. The year 2020 was a difficult one. The disruption, distraction, and disorientation that we confronted over the 10 months since February was ceaseless. There was not a single day without that mention of COVID-19. The fears of the unknown, the mounting apprehension, the uncertainty that lingered indefinitely. As the nation swiftly adapted to the new normal, there was a cohort of students who remained undeterred, resolute, and tenacious in pursuing what they set out to do. Despite the two circuit breaker, all through the two phases and the related challenges of home-based and hybrid face-to-face learning, they have kept on unwavered, they have stayed steadfast. And I'm referring to the 420 graduates, the class of 2021. Fast forward. This evening, we are here to celebrate and to commemorate their successful completion of the 3-year study. Their commencement as newly minted graduates. My heartfelt congratulations and outpour of confetti to the class of 2021. I think here's a good place to pause for an applause. No storm can last forever. Neither should a pandemic like COVID-19. With the ongoing vaccination drive and the easing of the safe management measures, we should continue to be cautiously hopeful as we move towards the recovery phase. We know that COVID has taken a tremendous toll on our economy and the design world at large. What lies ahead of you, graduates, is the uncertainty that is uncharted, especially with the unsettling ongoing pandemic. We could postulate a post-COVID future. For designers, I could alert you of the shift towards digital, strategical, agility, interdisciplinarity, sustainability, and interoperability in the fast evolving practice of design. But I'll not do that. There is something more critical and more important in real life. As observed by your lecturers, it is the soft skill, the collective attribute, or if you will, attitude of tenacity, adaptability, creativity, capability that each of you have externalized and demonstrated as young designers. As one of my colleagues succinctly puts it, they had a difficult SIP. SIP stands for Student Internship Program, and FYP, Final Year Projects Experience. With all the restriction, but still they managed to work around them to produce good FYP. When I posted the similar question to another colleague, and I asked, what is so special about this year's cohorts? She commented, for MP, as in major project, very limited resources for sourcing materials, yet they have converted this advantage to an advantage and showcase their textile manipulation skill using what they could find around them. In the face of adversity, you have made the best of the situation. Even in those perilous and uncertain times, you have adapted, struggled, navigated, persevered, responded, learned, and prevailed in real life. Question: when life gives you lemons, what do? Make lemonade. You know what? You guys not only made lemonade, but lemon tarts, lemon sorbet, lemon pudding, lemon meringue, lemon custard puff, lemon gelato. You know where I'm coming from. The year 2020 even ended on a very, very high note with yet another extraordinary performance by the School of Design at the Crowbar Awards. We were acknowledged for the fourth time as the institution of the year. You guys have taken the sour situation and turned it into a sweet celebration. For all of you out there, I think you should take a bow, please. In closing, may I quote my colleagues, Mr. Elvis Day? Where are you, Elvis? Great. And Elvis has this to say: they are the pioneer of the new normal. They have managed to live, learn, work, function, and play through new ways without being taught how to. They have experienced and have understood as well as appreciated the old and the new way of doing things. All these were not taught but learned through circumstances. what an indelible impression you have made. I have a note to add to all our graduates. Be inspired always. Go with your confidence. Follow your heart. Trust your conviction. Move that rudder. Shift that sail. Chase after that dream, that vision, that degree, that venture, and that job. Finally, many thanks to my awesome colleagues, chairs of DS 2021, Mr. Simon Yap, Miss Michelle Kam, and their wonderful, priceless DS team. I was so supportive, ever supportive CCD colleagues, the many students and volunteers who work tirelessly together, our generous sponsor, Epson. Too many to acknowledge for the many months of planning this first ever digital design show. It has not been easy. My profound and humble appreciation to all. Now, please join me in putting our hands together to invite to the rostrum our GOH, Mr. Adrian Tan, for the opening address. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lim. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest of honor this evening is a trailblazer in Singapore's creative industry and a dear friend of our school. As founder and Tauke of the App Planet Group, Mr. Adrian Tan has led the group to win more than 400 international awards. Mr. Tan is also an ardent supporter of education and serves as a dedicated member of Temasek Polytechnic's Board of Governors and chairman of the School of Design Advisory Committee. It is my honor to invite Mr. Tan to share his words of wisdom and open the design show. Chairman, please.
PCO, Principal, Temasek Polytechnic, Peter Lam, Director of Design School, Lim Chongjin, course directors, lecturers, and the team of TP Design School. And most importantly, you, as graduates of TP Design School of 2021. This is your day. It is my honor to be here to celebrate your achievements. The annual Design School show is a highlight of what you show off in your design journey in TP Design School over 3 years. The journey, I'm sure, has its ups and downs. You have measure of elations when you have been praised, downs when you have been critiqued, but you have arrived. Your learning curve at Design School in TP is by no means ordinary because it is at TP Design School. Voted Crowbar Institution of the Year for 4 years in a row. And I hope you'll be for half a decade. TP Design School is also Singapore Design Institution with the most number of recipients for the President Designers Award. It's also a multiple awarded institution with wins from many prestigious international awards in the creative industry. All of the Oscars of the industry, such as Clio, London D&AD, One Show, New York Art Festival, and even Cannes Lion. How did we achieve this? I always wonder. Well, I think TP Design School is a hotbed for creativity and design. It has a very established culture of passion, love affair, and romance with ideation, with creativity, and with design. Your currency is the way you are taught to think, to be original, to be the first mover. However, you are now moving from the life of theory to practice. Over and above that, you are entering the job market that's been made very challenging because of COVID-19 pandemic. COVID-19 has brought about a huge change, as Jean has mentioned just now. Honestly, I do not know how you all have managed learning from home and first time ever trying to address this pandemic. COVID-19 is a violent teacher and has brought the world to its knees. The changes it's made, structural, and some of them are forever. The world is at a standstill. It is in deep recession. Times are tough. It's going to be brutal. But there are opportunities in crisis. I like that very much because I think we can take advantage of recession, we take advantage of crisis. But it's for those who are hungry, for those who are resolute, for those who are so determined to be the movers and shakers despite all odds. You can take advantage of crisis by being agile and adapt to the new demand. I think this is what Jean has mentioned in his speech, where he's talked about the fact that you all have to have the agility and the resilience and a never say die attitude. And it's a soft skill. So we hope that you will engage that as you journey to your next chapter. You're armed with 3 years of hard knocks at TP Design School. You are TP Design creative warriors. So I would ask you all to put on your war paints, take on the challenge of TP Design's credo, and be the agents of change. The word agent of change is actually written on the wall of the TP Design School in one of the wall, and I always like the line because we are in creativity, we are in originality, we are basically change maker. We set new benchmarks, and that's what we know what to do. So now you are unleashed by TP Design School to brighten the world with your creative sparks. Go and deliver the wow factor. Make TP Design School proud of you. Continue the legacy of some of our famous TP Design School alumni members, many of which are multiple award winners. They are heroes and leaders in the creative industry, not only in Singapore, but also globally. They are from TP Design School as you are. So graduates, take a bow. My loudest applause. Congratulations. May the outpouring of the confetti be released. And I would like to declare the show of TP Design School open. Thank you.
Since 2018, the School of Design has been recognizing student projects that embody and uphold the ethos of sustainability in design. This year, 15 final year projects were shortlisted for this competition. And 3 exemplary works will now receive the top prizes of $1,000 each. Before I invite the winners on stage, a big thank you to our judges. Mr. Adrian Chua, founder and creative director of Paper Carpenter. Ms. Evie Sarifuddin, architect, design consultant, and lecturer at the National University of Singapore. And Mr. Benny Tan, senior manager, research, innovation, and enterprise at the School of Design. May I now invite Mr. Adrian Tan to present the prizes, please. Chairman? In no order of merit, the first award goes to Beauty Plus by Ho Pei Chi from the Diploma in Communication Design. The second award goes to Sia Kit Shan from the Diploma in Interior Architecture and Design for his project titled Niwako.
Congratulations, well done. Fantastic.
And the third award goes to Create, Not Degrade, a project by Saw Jie Ying Crystal from the Diploma in Product and Industrial Design.
Congratulations. Well done.
Okay. This one. Congratulations and well done. Thank you, Chairman. We have now come to the highlight of tonight's design show, a dialogue titled Reality Check, Trends, Thoughts, and Transition in Design. Our graduates this year will be faced with unprecedented challenges as they enter the workforce. Uncertain these may be, these also present to them new and exciting opportunities. So it is now my pleasure to invite our distinguished panel on stage to hear their thoughts about this topic. First up, we have our guest of honor, Mr. Adrian Tan. Next, we have Ms. Mei Xiao. As creative strategy lead of Facebook Creative Shop, Ms. Xiao strives to experiment and create new ways to inspire people through stories and experiences. An alumnus of the school, Ms. Xiao is currently serving her alma mater as member of the School Advisory Committee. We're also happy to have with us tonight Mr. David Thum, founding director of Studio Norm Design Consultants. Mr. Thum has been named by Tatler as one of the top 50 influential designers in Singapore. Another outstanding TP alumnus, he gives back by nurturing the next generation of designers at the School of Design. And I'm sure many of you also want to hear the views of the graduates themselves. Thus, I'm pleased to present to you Jared D'Souza, a graduating student from the Diploma in Interior Architecture and Design, as well as Natalie Yong from the Diploma in Digital Film and Television, also from our graduating cohort. Finally, we have our director, Mr. Lim Chong Jin, who will be moderating this session. I shall now hand the time over to the panel. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a really exciting time for us to be here to what I would call a session where we really would shoot the breeze and and talk about something that we really care about, and especially when in a context of what we are experiencing right now. And the topic, just to provide the context, is really essentially a reality check, trends, thoughts, and transition in design. So I always like to read the book, not from front to back, but from back to front. So maybe I would reverse the order by saying that we should focus on the transition in design first, and then to hear your thoughts, and then to talk about the incoming trend. So really happy that both David and Mei Xiao is here with us, because they are our very proud alumnus, and we're so happy. And also to have Jared and Natalie, because they would provide their perspective from the angle of young designers going out there. All right. So maybe for start, let me just say that, one of my favorite punctuation mark is actually a semicolon. Why so? Because I think it's really graphically appealing. More than that, I think when you use a punctuation mark, it is really to suggest that there are two important ideas that are interlinked, but yet each of them are independent by itself. So it is a case of duality. It is a case of that interlinked, that connectivity, yet each is a standalone. So if you take it in a context of where we are today, I see it as a phenomena that we're all going through, a value, if you will. So maybe to kick off, I think that we know that there is a COVID kind of era or period, and there's also a post-COVID era. There is that push to kind of go into a very, very digital world. But yet at the same time, there is also the antithesis of digital, which is, the making part of things. And even when you think about that relationship between education and the world of practice, again, that represents yet another dimension. So very quickly, I think that we could be discussing on things basically on three tracks. What is the impact of COVID on design and education? The need and the aspiration of the likes of Zen, Z, Natalie, and Jared, and how they would reconcile this new landscape. And from the point of young people entering into the job market, how can we better help employers, in terms of the kind of designers that we as educators can help to train? So a whole load of questions, but perhaps maybe let me just start off with the younger guys, right? The final year for both Natalie and Jared must have been quite a tumultuous one, as I would imagine. When COVID came, it came fast, furious, and very fluid in its nature. You had not only to adjust yourself, to tussle and struggle with all these changes. As I said, the duality of physical to digital in so many aspects. I'm keen to find out in this period of that last 1 year or the 10 months, what were the lessons that you have learned? If you can, elaborate the good, bad, and even the in-betweens. Anyone can start off.
Okay.
Please.
So I'll go ahead first. So I think it goes without saying that design in any form requires a certain level of palpability. So being able to experience that sense of place, tactility, and fluidity of simply sketching or modeling something in 3D, or even something as simple as discussing with your peers or your team in person is something that has undeniable value in the organic process of design. So having to adjust to the abrupt changes in the social norms of the studio has been for some a shock to the system. But for others, it turned out to be a a positive change in their workflow. Having had to experience my industry project and parts of my internship at my desk at home, I saw how we as designers have adapted to this disruption,
Right.
and transition toward rapid digitalization of the way we present certain things in a more innovative way. So for me, as someone who enjoys the physical aspects of design, my initial concern was how this rapid digitalization could cause us to lose our grasp on the more organic and physical aspects of our process.
Sure.
So in other words, the craft of design. But what I soon learned is that craft and digitalization need not be separate things, but rather on the contrary. So they can go hand in hand. Technology has allowed us to marry these two vital aspects of our process and our final product. And whether it's through sketches on your tablet, live sketches even on Zoom, or 3D scanning a model so that you can discuss with your team in 3D. As much as it's not the same as it was before, I feel like it was a great compromise, and it's a step in the right direction.
Okay.
Yeah.
But don't you miss having your 3D model in front of you? Because a lot of what you do now is basically a 3D rendering on screen, right?
Yeah.
I think in terms of the power of expressing your ideas, that I don't think you'll be shortchanged in any way. And you rightly put it, I think it's really the coexistence, not quite the fusion of it, right? And reflecting on this, I think that it would actually mirrors the world of work, isn't it? Right? So for a practitioner like David, where now you're working from home too, and you have to deal sometimes with clients that are, overseas and all that. How do you kind of reconcile in terms of, the visualization part of it? At least we talk about that part, right?
Well, I think it's always double-edged, right? It has caused work to be very difficult, very inconvenient. But I think as a creative person in the creative industry, it forces us to be more creative. We have to come up with creative or new ways to convey the message, where we could bring a piece of sample and that's done. How do we describe perhaps a certain texture that we want to convey without touch? So it trains the company, the team as a whole, to be very creative, really. And that train of thought really gets infused into the culture of the company.
Okay.
Where we can always draw upon the experience of, if we can do this and got through that, why can't we solve that everyday simple problem that we face every day? So that for me was the very much the advantage that this inconvenience has caused us, actually. Yeah.
Thank you for those thoughts. Actually, I'm also very keen while we are touching on this topic of this new world of communicating your design ideas and all that. I think it also is quite interesting to note that the designers today are in a place where they are expected to there's always a struggle when we talk about the T-shaped designer, right? Where one is going to be a specialist going really deep, and or one that is slightly more horizontal. But in the case of like May, for example, I think you have kind of reinvented yourself in a very surprisingly
too many
interesting
times.
way. Yeah. Because I know May to be a communication design person from the get-go. And then how you went into consultancy, advisory, and now you are totally in a digital kind of environment. What exactly is that journey? And maybe if we hear it, I think they would kind of be prepared to for that to embark in what can be expected or what is may not be expected. I'm not sure.
Happy to share.
Yeah.
So I think something that binds a lot of creative people is curiosity.
Yes.
Right. The more curious you are, the different solutions we come up with. So I think through that journey, good news is it's not ended yet. It's probably going to change again. But what I like about it is we evolve to solve problems, solve business problems, solve world problems, solve humanity issues. And I would like to think that it's not advertising I'm doing. I want to create access. I'm trying to connect people who need to sell the baskets from Indonesia to Germany. I'm trying to create jobs, businesses, to give them that, to enable them to reach the people, and the other way around as well, for advertisers or people who have products to sell to reach people who want them. So in short, the more curious we are, I guess, the more we look at opportunities, or problems as opportunities rather. And I'll give you an example. Like, we've been doing focus groups for the longest time, and imagine 12 people with 12 glasses of water, papers in front of them, and a lot of checkboxes. And that's how you tell A from B, A from B. Look at COVID. Everything's gone. Where are the 12 people? So if you think about that opportunity or that age-old way of finding out what you need to know as a business, and you put on the digital lens to go like, why can't the world be my audience? I can do a polling ad to go like, would you like the red dress or the black dress? And you have a number of people going one way versus the other, and you go, there you go. And then we go another layer down. What kind of dress are we talking about? The long one or the short one? So if you keep doing that, design is transient. Like, it keeps changing because it's not as permanent, the way I think about it. So the more you test and learn, the better we get, the sharper we go. Your 12 people are no longer relevant. So you think of the world as your audience, your world as a test bed, then the world opens up. I think that's where you start to solve problems in a global manner. And that's not in a brief. It's never in a brief. And that's what I love about the lens that we put on. And sometimes the journey evolves, whether you're a designer, a communicator, a consultant. I think our worlds merge, and the more interesting we become as people too. I sort out people who have a special skill. I would love a surgeon who's a musician as well. You know what I mean? Like a designer who's a great chef. That's the beauty, and that's the whole X factor. And they don't belong to a box. But gone are those days where we hire people who belong to in a box. And I think we should embrace the things we love, find something you truly believe in, and then start going from there.
That's just so interesting, because I'm going to ask you something that's a little bit more provocative, and please chime in, if you guys got any sort of thought. It means that, it's really in the maverick in that person, that creative person, that is school really relevant? Sometimes I wonder, and to run a school, I think that always you must bring a certain value, a certain experience that you can't have it anywhere else. Correct?
Yep.
Because, as you said, the COVID has given you that access, to sort of tap on technology and how you could actually expand your vista to something that you would not even imagine.
Right.
So the relevance of school, what must the school do? So, Chairman, I think that you've been in this business long enough, and that you run a really big group of companies, ranging from events to digital advertising and all of that. How do you see that future job is gonna be shifting? Because for us, I think that it's always three things that I would always think about as an educator, and what I would think of is the evolutions of job skill, the evolutions of job demands, right? And the evolutions of the kind of engagement, or the evolution of education, if you will. So I think these are constantly changing, and for me, for example, maybe you're just that way, right? you have the ability to kind of a bit of a chameleon yourself in a very positive way, to kind of reinvent yourself. Because in our earlier conversation, you said that you have changed your title for, like umpteen times, right?
I've stopped counting.
You stop counting, yeah. And that versatility is so relevant.
Yeah.
But is it, do you as a boss, for example, an employer, would you hire someone who is, someone who is so totally versatile, or would you want this guy because I know this person happens to be very very a good filmmaker, or someone who really can illustrate and even illustrate in a style that nobody can, specialist.
Yeah. So I think, director, you mentioned about the T-shaped designer and a creative person. One that is have horizontal skills, and then one that is a vertical skill. So we translate that into what we call a generalist
Yes.
versus a specialist.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to encapsulate everybody's wisdom here and putting it, in a very integrated way. To begin with, is your favorite punctuation, which is a colon.
Yes, correct.
So there is actually a full stop, and there is actually a comma. So the full stop says the end of an era, and the comma says the
still go on.
continuation of something.
Correct.
So I've been attentive to you. Now, the full stop speaks to me about something which you mentioned over and over again in the last comment.
Yeah.
And that is evolution.
Correct.
About Darwinism.
Yes.
And I have been a student of economics, and I believe in two theories. One theory is the law of diminishing returns, and the other theory that I believe in is that every product actually has a life cycle.
Life cycle. Yeah.
So, and I think because of technology, I think we all have to be very aware that life cycles have been shortened dramatically.
Correct.
So there will be a lot of more peaks and troughs versus in the older days without technology. The peak and trough is quite wide. Now it's much narrower, and you actually see a very sharp curve. So the need to see around the corner and anticipate what is the new demand, what is the new change, would therefore mean a person like me would be something very important relevant to what we are talking about. It's basically ability to be versatile and to change his or her skills into relevancy. Well, I actually was hoping that I could have this opportunity to speak about interdisciplinary industry. You are talking about graduates. Again, my congratulations to all of you who have really endured a most difficult year where home learning was first time ever.
Yeah.
And you all did it. So thank you. And my admiration to you all again.
And the lecturers too.
And of course the lecturers.
Let's not forget the lecturers.
And of course the director.
True.
But we came out strong, and like Jin mentioned, that we became even the 4th institution of the year. So whether you are in the diploma in communication, or in interior architecture and design, or in films and television, or in fashion and merchandising, let it be known to me that I want to think of you all as basically powerful creative thinkers. That is the common thread among all these different diplomas. And that is TP Design School has taught you the art and science of being a creative thinker. That you are a special breed of people who think very laterally, who will challenge the norm, who will chase benchmark, and extremely restless about wanting to change. So we see right now we're in a world of chaos. But TP Design School, graduates, and all of us here, I think we should celebrate because this is our time. Because we live in chaos. We love chaos. We enjoy chaos. So take advantage of chaos and redefine chaos. So I think this is very exciting time for the creative people because we like to be different. So let's chase after that. So my thoughts is that again, we are into what we call the fourth industrial revolution. Relevancy is key. You will see changes after changes. And we need to be versatile. We need to be nimble. And we need to be agile. And with all this, we adapt. And let me say this again, it's a colon. There's a full stop to whatever you have done well, but get ready to do the next thing well. So that is what we're going to do. That's my consideration. So.
Sounds very philosophical. I'm trying to sort of like translate this into in a language where young people like Natalie and
Sure.
Jared would be able to see. So I picked up a couple of words like the relevancy and the restlessness, the streak of restlessness, and I mean I would even call it defiant sometime, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and the ability to reinvent and all of that. Again, all this sounds like it is more the makeup of that innate quality of that person. How much is it? How much of the flair is involved? How much of the front loading of skills and knowledge? Because if you kind of line up, some of the most creative people, I think you would be able to see a certain pattern to pick up. So I'm not disagreeing with you, but I wonder as a school, it seems to be a contradiction even to me, where because what we need to do is to train Natalie so that she would be able to go out there and work. She can't be a philosopher. I mean, on the weekend, of course, you can be a philosopher, right? Yeah, but it's very scary. I'm not sure how you all feel because compounded by the fact that now you have that demands of design having to be a for lack of a better word, I think it's been democratized. Design is not just designers because recently I was describing to people that there is the creative industry that hires creative people. There's also the non-creative industry that hires creative people, but there's also the creative industry that hires non-creative people.
Right.
So it's like, when I think about it, it's like it's kind of convoluted.
Yeah.
And so I think that wonderful quality and what I spoke about, I was trying to capture, was really about that kind of temperament, if you will, that kind of outlook. But the flair is important. That ability to kind of have those skills, those innate, you know what I mean, Jared. So maybe for the younger person like Natalie and Jared, are you traumatized, or would you be very apprehensive, when you have to go into another business? Because Natalie, when I spoke to you, you said, part of what you want to do is to further your studies.
Yeah.
Now that's not a bad thing because I say go, right? But are you going to be taking up film,
No.
or you want to do something else?
So I'm actually not too sure on what I want to do yet. I've been applying for both universities and internships,
Right.
but they're both non-film related. because as you guys have mentioned, right now employers are looking for designers who are, well, as you said, the T the T
Yes.
designers who are more, how to say, they have experience or skills across all sorts of mediums. So let's say for film in particular, there have been a lot of like job postings where they're not just looking for, let's say, producers or editors or camera people. They're looking for someone who can do everything.
Yeah.
And on top of that, they're also looking for people who can do like Photoshop
Correct.
and design. So it's always, I feel like it's good to expand my horizons by taking up either internships or furthering my studies.
Yeah, this is exactly what I've been preaching.
Yeah.
Yeah, because to the students out there, I think my and we have an exemplary person like Maysia, right? Because you spent about 10 years in the Bay Area,
About 13.
right, in Silicon Valley, and you were working with a very forward-looking, progressive company called Stone Yamashita,
Correct.
and that's where I think that you were the creative director,
Yes.
but from design, you then sort of morph yourself into something else. So in not too many words, I think like I do believe that the ability to collaborate is such an important quality or attribute, right?
Yeah. Actually, if I will add to your point, which I actually do agree, a lot of employers are looking for one-stop shop. One person, 5 roles.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Terrible, right?
Right. Well, I won't say that. If I'm an SMB, I have no choice because I have no money to go hire an agency to do exactly what I need. But that said, if I was on the other side of the table, I can find my 5 good friends. Each of us take one role, and then we set up something, and then we become the superpower of that need.
Right.
But we are all, it's like the CMYK model. We are all rich in our own capabilities, but when we come together, we create magic.
CMYK, yes, I like, and then
Right?
it kind of creates
Correct.
lots of colors.
And the possibilities are endless because you've got the core fundamentals sorted.
Correct.
So that's
Why
where
can't it be RGB? Sorry.
go for it. Go for it. That's a lesser budget model though. 3 colors versus 4.
Right.
But what I quite like about that is you're still core and true to your skill. But you're together, to back to your point of collaboration. We don't, we were just talking about this at work. We don't celebrate collaboration enough. We celebrate individuality. If you look at people going on stages, it's typically the one or one person or one team, one brand.
Right.
Where is that collaboration where the lines fuse? Like today, I can't identify the person who designed the paperback. That person is probably really famous because everyone's using a paperback. But no, we don't hear that person because he diversified and gave the gift of a paperback to the world. So we don't celebrate the one person, we celebrate the work. Same as collaboration. Do we celebrate the person or do we celebrate the work?
Yeah.
So I go back and forth. Like if the work is that powerful and it does really solve global problems, and
Exactly.
then do we
You
really
are
need
so
to?
in sync with
Correct.
this center called the Beyond Design Center, which Chi Yong is running it. Yeah, it's totally believing that design can be of the greater good, but what you need to do is really to leverage on that converged expertise.
Correct.
And how do you bring together, as one of my dear colleagues would always say, that collective sagacity, that wisdom from the crowd, if you will.
Amazing.
Yeah. So then it's very interesting because when I spoke to you, Jared, beside your love for cycling, you are kind of headstrong about that the space area is what you're gonna be doing, and you want to be an architect because you just want to be like Woha or somebody great, but is that a pipe dream, or is that something that you really believe in?
Well, so for me personally, it's definitely something that I'm aiming to do, is to, after my national service, is to continue studying in the same industry.
Yes.
However, in my spare time, what I'm aiming to do is to apply for internships that are in cross-disciplinary firms. So there's this sort of cross-pollination of
Nice.
skills and ideas.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I actually had the opportunity to do that during my internship as well. So
Cool.
it was quite interesting to learn from different divisions about what they do. Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of opens you up to the many other areas.
Yeah.
And actually, you don't have to wait for your internship. In this school, we have a spectrum of different design,
Yeah.
discipline, right?
Yeah.
But we don't kind of mix them enough.
Yeah.
You guys are still kind of isolated and all that. So it's really possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, in terms of like from the employer's standpoint, all right, if you were to be hiring Chairman and maybe David, what would be something that you would look out for? Because I asked this question because I'm also giving hint to ourselves as a school to kind of better sort of design our curriculum so that it kind of matches. But I have a different story to that later. But just to hear your thoughts first.
I think what I picked up from Adrian's sharing, from your sharing, and absolutely comforted by what the two students have shared,
Yes.
the common topic of being versatile is exactly what I'm hiring for right now. Okay. This episode of COVID has taught myself, that I need to change. And there's no other way, actually. We have to change. We have to react fast and adapt. So, absolutely, when I hear that they are taking internships or exposures
Yes.
to try new things, to prepare themselves for what may come, that's absolutely wonderful. Because in times like this, we don't even know what's to come.
Yeah.
Right? So I have to have people with me with the same mentality, ready to switch like that. The attitude, the mentality that needs to be there to say, okay, let's try, let's do this. We have to change and not sulk at, this, we have to change this. What I've learned throughout my 3 years has gone to waste. But no, in a positive attitude where I think, why not? Let's do this, let's do that. And this is exactly the attitude that these two kids are showing right now, which is absolutely comforting.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Right? So,
Give it a call.
all right, for sure. Don't study. Just kidding.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's all sounding so rosy and so promising, and I want to hear the real hardcore, the real issues that you guys are facing. So I want to credit to John Colker, who is a design professor, who once said that design is optimistic. Okay, that's why we are all very optimistic, right? Because the designer's dream of a future that doesn't yet exist and work to bring it to bring that future to life. So in this school, we believe in one of the values that we had. It's this wonderful words that I coined: possibility realized. It's not just possibility, but you got to realize that possibility, and possibilities in plural, right? So now that we have heard all the promising, from the design business forecast and all that, what about the challenges? Because it's really not looking all that sanguine. Even if I, talked about how COVID has impacted and there is a global recession going on, people are not hiring, right? What are your thoughts and disposition, of the future? And future need not be like 5 years later. It could be like 2 years. Do you think that we're gonna be coming around very soon? From your economic POV, right, Chairman?
Yeah. Well, I must say this pandemic has really has taken the world by huge surprise. At first, there were a lot of countries that denied it, and then finally they accept it, and then they try to react.
Yeah.
And some countries who deny it, they have actually missed the boat, and you could see that the country really suffered, and the healthcare system is really very challenged. So I would say that this COVID-19 has actually brought the world to its knees. So there are two parts to it in terms of economics. One is a demand and one is a supply.
Yes.
So the design school supplied the creative talents to the industry.
Yeah.
And we must understand what the industry demand for creative talents and creative currencies that they're looking at. So I would say, Director, there is always this wonderful sweet spot that we are trying to reach, where demand and supply meet very organically and naturally. At the moment, I'm afraid, and if you want to hear the more brutal part of this,
Yes, be brutal. Be candid,
yeah, and narrative, and I think it's kind to be brutal.
Kind to be brutal.
Yeah.
That's a paradox.
Yeah. Where we at least in real life
Yeah. Yeah. We
and realized it,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then we navigate around the issues
That's right.
and come up with something where the demand is looking for. So I give you an idea of demand, how demand can be misdefined. We may be making the best clocks, but actually the market wants a watch. And we miss that sweet spot because the demand was a watch and we have a clock. Both tell the same time, that tell something. And that is about time. Right? So the need to match
Fire the
demand and supply is extremely important. So you're talking about right now, I must say the firms are not hiring at all.
Wow.
And they are really trying to make ends meet because they themselves has to meet their own demand, which has been changed, and they will require different type of talents.
Yeah.
However, I want to give all of us hope. Then that hope is about, I would actually look at more of your horizontal line of the T, having more value. And that is where, whether you're in firm, whether you're in communication and design, or whether you're in interior architecture, you are a creative thinker. You think differently. You search for originality. You are not a yes man. You challenge the norms. And I think that's exciting. There's currency, there's economic value for many companies to have this type of talent.
Yeah.
The bold, the young, and the one who think out of the box. So let us look at ourselves, design school, TP, has thinkers, creative thinkers, lateral thinkers, powerful thinkers. So I would say there is C to B, which is creativity to business. And interdisciplinary. You do not need for film, like you wouldn't need to just go into just film. Your currency that you put and your value that you put on the table for a new company could be in financial institutions, into properties, companies, into insurance. So see yourself as more of the horizontal line than the vertical line. So I think we have values here. 3 years in TP Design School have given you values. So take heart. Times are bad, but it's macro. It's everybody is having issues.
Right.
Think of it. SIA. You know, the
hospitality
passenger
trade.
load for SIA is now 96% down. They are flying only 4% of their usual passenger load.
Whoa.
Can you imagine
Tragic.
the kind of challenges SIA, which has been the darling of SGX, is facing now? So look at it this way. I think we will have to overcome. And I think director just want to mention this. And I think, David, you mentioned about what are we looking for? We're talking for people who are very versatile, who are nimble, who are agile. And I want to add some words here. And one key word to me is hunger. I want all of us to realize, do not have a sense of, rights. Ask not what the company can do for you, but what you can do for your company. Have the attitude. And really want to sincerely helping the company to ride through these tough times. And when opulence comes, when inflation comes, I am very convinced and persuaded that you all will be rewarded. So, on that note, what do we have, TP graduates? You have two parts. One is what I call tangible and intangible. Tangible is the skills that you have learned and everything else. The intangible part is very important. Is what I think you also mentioned, Director, is attitude.
Yep.
The attitude to rough it out. Not go soft. Life is not like that. It's like the old saying is, when it's tough, the tough get going. I mentioned in my delivery that we should put on the war paint, because I see you, and I deliberately use the word called warriors. You're not creative designers, you're creative warriors. Get yourself ready. Get yourself and realize that there's hardship. But out of this hardship, you will come out better if you ride through that journey. I would confess to a secret to the graduates. I have told the director many times how we both want to, and the SAC members really want to redefine TP Design School. And I know I've been hard on the director when I told him that our school, TP Design School, should be really a school of hard knocks. And really, basically, be a creative boot camp for the students here in your 3 years here. The suffering may be immense, but I'm very sure the output will be tremendous, where the whole market will really want graduates from TP. So I think my consideration here is that we all have to be agile, adapt, and have a sense of hunger, have a very positive attitude towards all the challenges we have. Because I think out of the rubbles, there will be a phoenix that will rise from this debris, as it were. So COVID has created it, but I think the world is, with the vaccination, whether it's Sinovac, whether it's Moderna, or whether it's Pfizer, I think when we reach herd immunity, I think there will be a growth curve again. And I would say be patient too, get ready and pause yourself for the growth curve. So this is my thinking.
Fantastic. Yeah. I think it's really loaded. I would need to kind of unpack what you just said a while ago, but really, I think that having heard that, Jared and Natalie, what's your reaction and what's your response? Or is that of any relevance to you? Like, what Chairman has shared with us. I'm coming from the point of you know, you are actually at a inflection point, you know, where there are many possibilities, many pathways, many options that's going to be opened. And so one shouldn't be too worried because, you know, especially if you're so young, because I've always subscribed to the belief that whatever is it's a long journey, and it's never terminal, it's never destinational, it is directional, right? So get your direction, you know, right? I think, but you know, I'm not talking to two of you. Actually, it's really addressing to all the graduates. But you know, just a quick check in terms of not timing, but you know, both David and May were students of TP. I don't know, but I wonder what was life like compared to what you guys are doing right now. You know, that'll be an interesting thing to find out, right? Aren't you curious? Like, was life a lot harder, or it wasn't as hectic? We didn't have to do like TP fundamentals, you know, load full of other subjects that seem seemingly irrelevant, but actually it actually builds up your holistic kind of you know, it prepares you for this world of uncertainty, right? Maybe what were you like as a student? Yeah.
Maybe I can start off with saying,
Be prepared. I'm coming to you next.
I'm looking the other way.
No escape. Yeah.
to be honest, till now,
Yeah.
with no offense to anyone in my life, I had my best time in TP in my 3 years here.
Okay. Because you weren't doing any work. You were just
I was just playing football down at the field every day.
wonderful.
That was a big part though, but
Okay.
I enjoyed the atmosphere of the design school. To be honest, I came into design school not 100% firm and sure of this course that I'm taking.
Right.
17 years old. How much do you know about your future and your career?
Precisely.
Stepped in
Yeah.
and I got inspired by the school.
Oh wow. Okay.
You know, I was a C student in the beginning, finding my way.
Right.
And you develop and you learn and you
Yeah.
got better. And I grew to love.
And this is exactly what Chairman talks about, right? It's called romancing, right? Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
Really. You know, to love what I was learning.
Right.
And you excel, of course, because you enjoy doing whatever you're doing. And because you manage it well, okay? You have time for soccer, okay? But yeah, I would not discredit any part that the students now here in this school are doing.
Yeah.
I think they have just as
Because
hard a
now
time.
you're wearing the cap of a teacher now.
Right.
Yeah.
I also do a bit of duties in teaching.
Yeah.
Here in this
you call it
school.
duties, huh? Nice.
Yeah. So they are having a lot of things going on as well.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's for sure. Yeah.
And to be honest, hats off to this bunch who has made it through with the COVID situation.
Right. Yeah.
They can't come to school. They can't learn from their teachers the way that they used to for the past 2.5 years.
Yeah. That certain amount of self-directed
Yeah.
pushing and all that is quite required.
So that part of the motivation I thought is quite impressive.
Yeah.
And I'm very glad that spirit of the design school hasn't been lost.
So precisely then maybe we shouldn't be teaching so much.
Probably.
Nice try.
There are a lot of teachers here. Yeah. So, I mean, the learning curve for each individual starts to drift when it begins with the online learning.
Okay.
The motivated ones would do very well.
Yeah.
The unmotivated ones
He hasn't got a clue of where to go. Yeah.
They will be sleeping, playing games, whatever, during when no one has their eyes on them.
That's right.
Right.
They then need to be mollycoddled to be kind of watched over in that sense. But May, what was the school like? You know, very in recent times,
Right.
that you.
Just 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh Lord, add a couple of numbers. So I was like everybody else. Came into this school really eager, really
Yes,
excited
yes.
to figure out what design means in general, and then what it means to me.
Sorry to interject, but the one
course.
thing that I remember very fondly is that your ability to articulate, your eloquence, and that kind of helped in many ways, I think,
Yeah.
because you would be able to express and you kind of know what's happening.
Thank you. A
Carry on.
little backstory,
Kinda.
just a 2-second detour. 2-second detour. The reason why I think I can do that is because my dad,
Okay.
when he would explain something to me, he would do it in 5 different ways because he
Wow.
didn't think I was smart enough to understand the first one. So he kept going. He's like, did you understand? Metaphors came through,
Okay.
languages came, so he mixed it all up and came to a point where I realized,
Linguistically, yeah.
correct,
Yeah.
the same problem or the same thing he's trying to explain, there's many roads
Oh,
to the
wow.
same point.
Right.
Visual communication is one, and the tools and the craft and all the layers of things we add to the
Yeah.
work that we actually execute,
Sure.
same point.
Yeah.
So then there's not one is better than the other. It's which one you get to. So just a detour. But it's honed into my ability to communicate visually, whether it's through sound or through art. So back to the point, I think coming back to this school brought some memories, and we all were eager, excited, and scared at the same time.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's a journey that you may or may not like or know.
That's
But that
right.
said,
That's right.
the outcome here is I've learned grit.
Yeah.
I've learned to be pretty tough after 3 years of,
Wow.
lecturers being able to tell us things that we didn't want to hear, and
The-
growing
the
up.
brutal candor.
Correct.
Yeah.
And feedback is a gift. If they didn't care about you, they won't tell you what they think.
Yeah.
So we care enough, and therefore we want you to get better, and therefore, I'll keep this short. But end of the day, when I left the school, I went to intern. I think work for a year, and I got a partial scholarship in San Francisco because of the foundation that I got from here. So tough as it might be, you might not see it right now because it's near term. But the
Right.
whole point here is it's foundational, and we
Yeah.
don't need the CMYK to get to where we need to mix it.
Yeah. So
Our
this is
beauty,
the
right?
point that I think all online viewers and even on-site viewers should listen, especially if you're graduates. I think it is tough love sometimes, right? But I think that kind of shape you. And I always say, a line that I always use is that the stronger the wind, the stronger the trees. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yep. So that's interesting. And then that brought you to
San Francisco.
the Arts Academy
Oh, yeah.
in SF,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
Okay. And you were saying that it actually laid a bit of a foundation for you to kind of
Correct.
take on, and an added step,
And because I think we are at this school, we have multiple subjects. It's not like you are just doing one thing. So generally, you're trained to open your mind to look at spectrums.
Right.
So when you saw before the word innovation graced on any of the magazines like Forbes and Times, we were doing innovation in Silicon Valley. Nobody even heard of that word. I'm
Yes.
talking like at least 20 odd years ago. Well,
Yeah,
technically. Don't just erase that. But that said, what's important here is being open enough to understand and value your opportunity in front of you. You can call it whatever. Titles
Yeah.
don't matter to me. Like we were talking about titles. Doesn't matter. It's the impact that we care about.
Yeah.
You can, it doesn't matter whether it's called design or creative or
Yeah.
business or even economics. I don't really know. And I really think, end of the day, if we can solve the problem with all the pieces and tools we can put together, that's creativity. I don't know if the school would teach us just that, but the school gives us the foundations and the tools to get there.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why I value and treasure and really put so much emphasis on the right education. It's knowledge based. And then eventually we will just keep building more and more knowledge. And it's not just data.
Correct,
It's what you
correct,
do
yeah.
with it, right? So
Yeah. But herein, I think that you need to have that level of maturity also, right? Because
and curiosity.
in a way, because as eager beaver, 15 years old, 16 years old, you come in a system like that, they themselves have to go through a transition,
Yeah.
right? This is a transition that we're talking about.
Yeah.
And I mean, to be able to elevate to a level where this is no longer design but problem solving,
Yeah.
I think that to me is really a higher order that
Okay.
it is okay for us to aspire. I
Yeah.
think so.
Yeah.
and that would be really expected. And I think that having been through long enough in this place, a couple of decades now.
No one's counting.
I have. I don't look like it, right?
No.
Thank you very much. But I've seen how the curriculum has really intensified, and more. I think that the one thing that I want to quickly mention is the fact that there aren't that many sort of design companies that are going to hire you. There's only so many numbers of architectural firm, design companies, and all that. Last count, because I was working with a consultant, it's about 6,750. From little ones to the mid-sized one, but mostly they are micro SMEs. And the good news is that for every person that's going to be hired to a design specialized consultancy or agency, 2 will be hired in the non-design area, meaning that you can be working for the bank, you can be working for the public sector, you can be working for non-design companies, not your traditional one. So that has to also be something that we must embrace and be prepared to be opportunistic about it. Because, Chairman talked about that equation of supply and demand. I think that's so important, and we've got to know this. Now, I'm mindful of time, and I really would like to have this as much as I can, an interactive one, a session. Perhaps if I can invite 1 or 2 questions from the floor. Anyone who has any sort of burning questions to ask, especially for the younger ones, please feel free. No mic, but you just speak up. So I would like to open this time to the floor. This is unscripted because I told my colleague Simon that I think it'd be useful that since you're here, it shouldn't be a one-way kind of spectator sports, right? but we really would welcome some question. So anyone has any question, please? Yes? You know what I used to tell students? No question, nobody gets out of the classroom. It looks like I would have to lock everyone in here for a while. Any question? Maybe it would come to you. Oh, yes, please. Yes. Yes.
So you guys talked about how it'd be great for creative to step out of the box. But I'm just wondering, wouldn't it be greater if a creative is one who has experienced what it's like in the box, and be able to step out of it at the same time? You get what I mean?
Kind of, to say that you are in the box and you have the ability to also step out of the box.
Yeah, because sometimes it does call for someone to be able to be in the box, but be able to relate to someone who's outside the box.
Yeah. So the box as a literal device. Okay. I don't want to be so literal, but rather it's you're suggesting the box as an area of work, a specialization.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Maybe a specialization is a better way of putting it.
Okay. Anyone would like to respond? What's your name, by the way?
Samuel.
Samuel, thank you for that question. Perhaps go for it, David.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thanks.
Definitely. I mean, that is what design school has given all of you for 3 years to have a certain level of specialization. Okay. And more importantly is that design thinking process that could be applied throughout the various disciplines. I think that is where the part you need to have to be strong in order to get out of the box. All right. It has become a prerequisite for you to be strong within your box.
Yes.
But what we're talking about is how easy are you able to jump out of the box and to create more connections and to gain more boxes in your words.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah.
So that is
to gain more boxes, because he's just sharing about his own life, right, Samuel? Because I know this man happens to be in the box of product design and all that, but he has got out the box, and in fact he's still in the box, but he has done other things You know, I mean, the other person that I'd like to mention is also one of our SAC member, Chris Lee. Right? He was trained as a graphic communication person, but today he does a lot of other things.
All sorts of things.
Yeah, from
love it.
architecture to, you know, at one point he was selling chocolates.
Yes.
Uh,
Way back when.
exactly,
Yes.
and he was selling a Fred Perry
Yeah.
brand of shirt.
Yep.
Yeah, selling CDs and all that. Yeah, he's got
Yeah.
client all over the world, right? So I think that allows you to be very, very multifarious in terms of creating lots of bots. Thank you for that question. I really appreciate it. Yeah. Yes, we have one more question. Yeah, perhaps would you identify yourself, please?
Hi, my name is Axel. I'm from communication design.
Cool.
So I was just wondering how you would define success in this competitive and difficult world.
Whoa.
Oh,
Okay.
tough.
Tough one. Success is in the eye of the beholder. Chairman.
Well, philosophically. Well, I always, some measure it by money. Some measure it by being the alpha guy in whatever industry you are in, whether you are a banker, you are the top banker,
Top
whether
dog,
you
yeah.
are, the top dog.
Yeah.
I think we want that spirit of in us to really excel. And for us to excel, we need that hunger, we need that drive, in fact, the overdrive, so that you can dominate to be the best among your peers. So I will not discourage any of your, in fact, I want to encourage every one of us here to have that spirit of competitiveness, to be the best, to be the alpha person in whatever you're doing, to have the dominance. It's like TP Design School, where we are now 4 years in a row to be Design Institution of the Year. To me, how do you interpret whether it's a one-year wonder where you are a Design Institution of the Year, but to do it 4 years in a row, how do you interpret it? You interpret it by the fact that you want dominance. You really want to be the best.
I never knew that we are the alpha school.
So that is to me.
Now I know.
That to me is in some way in definition of success.
Right.
But I've seen, honestly, some work for money, and some don't. So philosophically, I like to share with you this very interesting Japanese philosophy called Ikigai. Ikigai is a state where you are trained to do something and you're good at it and you're doing that, but you're happy doing it.
And you're getting paid too.
And you're getting paid too. So this golden triangle, you're good at it, you're happy doing it, and you get paid.
That's perfect. I like
That's
that.
economic value, right? Versus I know of doctors becoming lawyers who basically they are doctors, but they don't like to be a doctor, but they're good at it.
Running out of the box.
Yeah. So you're right. I like what you say, David. It's about getting a lot of boxes.
Yeah.
So my point to all of us here is that I promote lateralism. That means we can be very lateral, grow horizontally, but at the same time, when you find your sweet spot, grow vertically.
Yeah.
But you can have many verticals, which is what is David saying, that you can have many boxes and good boxes. So I think, Director, I want to say this is that there's hope. We should really be hopeful and be confident of what you all have gone through in your 3 years journey at TP Design School. it is not an ordinary design school. We have that fantastic culture where we are so passionate about creativity in its purest form. And because we have this passion, we have this fantastic culture in TP Design School. It's actually a hotbed to bring out creative heroes that will have the wow factor. And like David said, when he was a 17-year-old, he came here, but he was inspired by our, by the atmosphere, by the spirit of the school. So in many ways, if you ask me, Director, I would just have to say this. I know we're running out of time, but I want to revisit this one point. And that is for the issue of COVID-19. The school is a living organism. It's made out of people.
Yeah.
The colors of our people, the colors of our character.
Yeah.
Some are very polite, some are brave, some are timid, some are tactless. But, you know, we respect each other and we put into the melting pot and become the spirit of the school.
Yep.
But with COVID-19, I know that what you have gone through, graduates, my admiration to you guys, to the lecturers and to your, you know, to TP, how you all have actually adapt to the very fact that you have to have a situation where it's learning from home. But I think you guys miss that comradeship where you all be together, where you can work together and you can cry together and be happy together, and when you're hungry, you go and eat together. So still, I hope this is just 1 year, and then we will, with the vaccination and all that, we will have what we call a post-COVID. But then I think it will be more of like a cold COVID or what have you. But we will survive. We are animals that know how to survive. Bring out your survival instincts and make the best out of all worlds. So this is my thinking.
So if I may just to add a little bit on what you just talked about. Is this going to be the real world, you know, that we will still continue having to do a lot of online kind of dialogue that we don't have? I mean, there's this ruling that says that it's a maximum of group of 8, right? And that there's no camaraderie, there's no bonding, because I'm a big believer of the social process, because the social process is where you picked up skills and you learn from each other, peer learning, you know, in not too many words. So in the interest of time, I would also want to ask any one of you, in fact, all of you, if there was one IRL statement that you want to make in real life, what would that be?
Can I go first?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Okay.
What is in real life to you right now?
Yeah, so I found it quite interesting that David was mentioning being a warrior and
That's chairman who talks about the warrior.
sorry, chairman.
It's okay.
And being a warrior and trying to sort of be able to adapt and fight despite the challenges that we're facing. And so I guess my personal quote would spawn from the major project that I did.
Okay.
Because COVID, for me at least, I can say for myself that has affected me on a mental health level to a certain extent, not being able to have that organic social part of it,
Yeah,
the
thank you for being
camaraderie
so
of it.
frank. Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
So the major project revolving around the pandemic as a part of the theme. My chosen site was actually the former Ford factory, which some who may have taken social studies or history may know to be the site where the Japanese
war.
was surrendered to by the British.
That's right.
And so what I wanted to investigate back then was how we can learn from our past destruction and channel that residual energy to look at the world anew. Similarly to how, maybe on a different scale, but similarly to how the war and the beginning of the occupation was a turning point for our pioneers,
Right.
COVID-19 was a turning point for us.
Yeah.
And so I guess my project was so my title of the title of my project was The Scar Tissue. As a scar to me symbolizes the acknowledgement of our past, and yet it's also a formation of a new, evolved, battle-hardened skin.
Whoa.
So I guess the statement that spawns from that project would be to accept with a certain pride of what has been lost, but also what has been gained.
Right.
So that is also part of being a warrior and the tenacity of a designer.
I think so.
Yeah, and also helps to define what a successful designer is. I'm still personally working on that.
Sure.
But it's a rather universal statement that reminds us to look back and learn from our past failures and destruction and not be afraid of it. And any other challenges that may crop up in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you may end up with many, many scars.
Yeah. And wear it with pride.
Yeah. No, I think you touched on a very, very, you come across as being very vulnerable and to actually share with us, what we are really missing. Because look around, I mean, every one of us is wearing a mask.
I know, right?
I mean, this is so strange, right? And that can't be in real life. Because in real life, I don't talk to you. I want to see you smiling,
Yeah.
But here is really a place where we have to transit, and that's why we talked about transition. But perhaps the point about also, I still want to go back to the skill part of it. I mean, sure, we talked about attitude, we talked about certain disposition, certain kind of dare to, that spirit of wanting to be different and that tenacity and all of that. I think that's important. But are there any sort of gaps in terms of the skills of students? If there's something that education, we see a fissures or a gap that we are not teaching, that we maybe looking at Patrick down there, he would say that, look, I think I need people who are technologically savvy, because today, in my business, we are moving into technology. So as a school, I think we would have the very tough decision of saying to ourselves, look, I have to revisit the curriculum and put a lot more weightage on technology, always at the expense of something else. And that something else could be very important because it undergirds the character building part, that what you might call it, that attitudinal behavioral trait that we want to train. Because a lot of time when your lecturers push you, I think sometimes I have to tell you, it's deliberate.
Yep.
Yeah. It's not just for the sake of whatever, right? Yeah. So yeah, this is something that we have to really think about. I think time is up. I really love to have this conversation carry on for a couple of hours, but I think our time is up, and I just want to say thank you very much, May, Chairman.
Thank you.
David,
Thank you.
for your sharing from your point of view and for being so upfront, and of course with Jared and Natalie, we wish you all the best.
Thank you.
You keep hearing what Chairman is saying. It is okay. It is okay. You just have to make your mark. And to Ethan, all right, who questioned about that question about success, I think success should be defined by you, not by anybody else, right? I think that is so important. So on a note, I want to just say that we have to bring this reality checks conversation to an end. And I want to thank the studio audience as well as the on-site audience for your presence again. So on that note, thank you very much. Have a good weekend, guys. Yeah.
Thank you, panelists, for that enlightening and lively discussion. I would now like to invite Mr. Lim to present to Mr. Adrian Tan and our panelists tokens of our appreciation. A big thank you to our panel for gracing us with your presence tonight. May I welcome Mr. Adrian Tan, please.
This
Miss
is
Mei
so
Xiao.
interesting. And it's done by AI.
Oh,
Yeah. Great, thank you.
no point smiling.
No point smiling. That looks like you, mate. Thank you for your time. Thank you so much. Picture time. Okay.
Mr. David Zhang.
Oh, yes. This looks very nice here. This is all done. Illustration. Very nice. Thank you. Here we go. Thank you very
Natalie
much.
Yong.
Thank you. Wow. Keeping it real. Natalie, all the best. Yeah, thanks for your time. Here we go. Great. All the best, yeah.
And last but not least, Jared D'Souza.
Here we go. Thank you so much. Yeah. Let's see whether it looks like you. Yeah, that's you, all right? Yeah.
We have now come to the end of this evening's event. Thank you once again for joining us. I hope you have enjoyed hearing from our distinguished speakers and panelists. And to our graduating cohort, we wish you all the best as you begin this new and exciting chapter in your life. Have a good evening and a great weekend. Thank you.